Hello friends, and welcome to my mid-year, halfway over APPE's residency prep, life update, Q&A video, I guess. Okay, so if you are new here, my name is Rudy. I am a fourth and final year doctorate student, doctoral student. I am doing my Doctor of Pharmacy and my Master's of Public Health at the same time. I know, I am insane and decided to torture myself, but hey, we're finishing up. We're at the end. I'm gonna be positive, you know? But if you're new here, I'd love if you'd stick around. I do content on grad school. I love a little bit of lifestyle stuff. I love some fashion. I love everything. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, go ahead and like and subscribe below, and let's get into the video. So the layout of this video is gonna just be like, honestly, it's like a chit chat, life update kind of thing. I did ask some questions on my Instagrams. I do have, I think, like 12 questions to answer, so I'll do that towards the end. But of course, I will put timestamps of little topics, I guess, in the description, and hope maybe possibly over here. But yeah, the layout's basically gonna be what are my APPEs, what are APPEs, where I see myself practicing after having done my 6 out of 8 APPEs now. Wow, this is wild. I literally have 2 more APPEs and I'm done. And then kind of like some like residency prep, and then of course the Q&A question. Okay, so first up, what the heck is an APPE? So an APPE stands for Advanced Pharmacy Practice Experiences. So essentially what I tell everyone, like in my life, is these are my clinical rotations, because that's just like how a lot of people understand it, right? So like they know med students go on their clinical rotations, they know nursing students go on their clinical rotations, dentists, all that good stuff. So I just kind of explain it to my family and friends, or when people ask me what I'm doing, like my clinical rotations. And truly they are, but we just call them APPEs in pharmacy world. So for my school specifically, we have 9 blocks. So this does not mean that you have to do 9 rotations, though. You technically really only have to do 8 for my school, and the 9th one is either you take on an extra one or you use it as your off block. Myself, I will not be taking on an extra rotation. I will be enjoying my off block, especially just like after, like, you don't realize how burnt out you get on these rotations. Like, and I do know, I do have classmates who are like doing an extra rotation, and like I take my hat off to them. I'm so happy for them. I'm proud of them. A lot of those people are like industry people, so people who are going to fellowships, because like you have to still do direct patient care rotations, and so stuff that's like industry and fellowships, I think you have to take on an extra rotation if you want more experience and other stuff. So don't quote me on that if you're industry and you're at my school. Like, definitely talk to the people who are industry at my school. Do not talk to me, like I'm not industry. But yes, I will not be doing 9, I'll only be doing 8. So of those 8, I've completed 6, and I'm like so happy to be almost done. But my first one was my oncology rotation. So this rotation was specifically on a leukemia service. So I got inpatient and outpatient leukemia experience. So I did a lot of chemo counseling. So that means initiating chemotherapy regimens, as well as just like following up with patients who were already on these regimens, but like we're doing some dose escalations or dose reductions, or we're changing a part of the regimen. We did a lot of chemo calendars. So especially for my younger patients, we would create these calendars that's like, okay, so you know, gemcitabines this day, and this day you don't do this, and this day you take your prednisone, and this day you take your mycophenolate, and all this kind of stuff, because like a lot of these regimens are very, very specific. Like on days 1 through 14 you do this, on days 21 through 48 you do this kind of thing. So a lot of younger patients are kind of like, you know, confused and overwhelmed, and not just younger patients, honestly, like just all patients get overwhelmed. So that was a lot of my job, a lot of counseling, answering questions for our provider team. Although with leukemia, it's very guideline driven, so there really wasn't, I wouldn't say there wasn't like as many questions as I would get like on my internal medicine service, you know? It was very specific already and very guideline driven. I also did a lot of PAs and appeals, and just like getting a lot of refills in for our patients who are on oral chemotherapies. Block 2. I did an advanced community rotation at a student health center, and it was honestly one of my favorite rotations. If you know me, I'm not necessarily interested in community pharmacy. However, if I were to go in community pharmacy, I would 100% beg for a job at this place. I just really loved it, like, because student health, I think, just like really kind of aligns with my interests. If you don't know, outside of school, I work in an HIV clinic, so I do a lot of like prevention, HIV care, just like building rapport and like relationships with patients, and you know, sex health and stuff. And so like student health was a lot of that. Like it was a lot of sex health, it was a lot of prevention, but it was also a lot of just like teaching kids like personal hygiene, just a lot of really cool things, like a lot of off-label psych things, because we did have a psych center there, women's health and travel health. So I really enjoyed that a lot, because when you think of a traditional community pharmacy rotation, you're kind of like dreading it. You know, you're like, I really don't want to go count pills for 10 hours and be used as free work. And keep in mind, I'm not bashing community pharmacists. We need our community pharmacists, because my boyfriend and I actually were sick this past week, and I like went to go pick up his meds because he got sick after me. And I was at the pharmacy, and my heart ached for them. Like they were so busy. Like it's flu season, it's RSV season, it's COVID, like everything's going on right now, and the pharmacy was just like literally on fire. And so let's protect our community pharmacists at all costs. But I just don't see myself in like a traditional setting. I would definitely see myself here, because you're building rapport with students, and like she's been there for, I think she's at 10 years. And so like just like, you know, people that came by and said hi to her over the rotation was really, really nice. Something I didn't mention, at my school, my rotations are 5 weeks. We do not do the like month system. I know some schools do, like, this is my January rotation, this is my February rotation. We do not do that. So we start our rotations like May 14, and that's just when you start. So we do 5-week rotations. We only get 1 off block. I know some other schools, they can get a total of like 2 or 3 off blocks. One of my friends in California, she has like 3 months off. I have no idea how they do this, but yeah, so I forgot to mention that. Block 3 probably is what solidified my love for kind of like ID HIV, honestly. So block 3, I did an infectious diseases consult team, and I loved it. Like I mentioned, I work in HIV, so I already had some experience with like the HIV part, because we did cover a few days in the inpatient HIV unit, which I was loving. But it definitely solidified my love for, one, like teaching teams. I really, really love teaching teams. Like, wow. I really thought that I would be very intimidated and scared, because like, if you know me, I'm very hard on myself, and if I answer something wrong, I will beat myself up for the rest of the year, honestly. And so I really enjoyed it, because like when you're on a teaching team, those people actually enjoy teaching, you know? Like I feel like no one is placed on a teaching team that like just wants to make people miserable. However, I'm sure that happens in real life, and I just have had really good experiences for myself. But I loved it. Like from the attending down to my preceptor, like I loved it. We did a lot of like pre-rounding, and then we would round with a team, and then like table round with the team. Then we would go see new patients that we needed to physically lay our eyes on, and then we would do like microbiology rounds, because this is ID consult. So like we did a lot of like going to the micro lab and like looking at smears, and the micro director like having like lectures for us. Like I loved it. I love the disease states I saw, and I just love how like with infectious diseases, yes, it's guideline driven, but there's a lot of like kind of like tailoring it to your patient, and I absolutely loved that. So that definitely solidified my love for like ID, HIV, and kind of like where I see myself in the future. Granted, it was insanely challenging. Like I felt like I had to be like on top of everything every day, being on a teaching team, but I feel like I grew a lot, and like just really kind of grew to like trust myself more. I definitely don't trust myself that much. Like I definitely don't think I'm like, you know, like I am not the pharmacist, you know? Like I definitely still have my days where I'm like, ooh, and the imposter syndrome has not gone away yet. However, we're working through that. My block 4 was kind of like a hepatology liver clinic, where I saw like pre-transplant, post-transplant, cirrhosis, hepatitis. I saw like everything that has to do with liver here, and I loved it. This was specifically designated as an AmCare rotation, so it wasn't like this was a hepatology rotation and it happened to be an AmCare clinic. I chose an AM care rotation, and the specialty that I like ranked when we were choosing our APPEs, I saw that it said like hepatology / liver, and I was like, that sounds cool, because none of the other ones really were intriguing to me. I think we had like diabetes and like heart failure, and those are topics I'm familiar with already and I felt comfortable with, and I purposely wanted to choose something that I'm not comfortable with / like don't really know much / kind of niche, because I felt like I was going to learn a lot the most there versus like repeatedly going over the ADA guidelines or the ACC AHA guidelines, you know? So this was a very good experience. I learned so much, and especially because working in HIV, a common co-infection I see is hepatitis C and HIV co-infection, so that was really cool. Or like HBV. I really loved it. Like, it definitely solidified my interest in AM care. We can talk about like where I see myself specifically in the AM care world later, but I loved it. Like, I did clinic technically 3 days a week. The other 2 days were a lot of just like answering questions for our providers, and then running our specialty pharmacy queue specifically for the HBV and HCV patients, I guess you could say. I love this so much. Like, I just really feel like I had the best learning experience in terms of like people. I did not have the best experience in terms of like the people I worked with, and that is something that like I was not really necessarily prepared for going on rotations, because I've never had that before. Like, I've always got along with people that I worked with or people that taught me. I don't think I've ever had an instance where I just did not feel valued, and I felt that for the first time on this rotation, so that was definitely a learning curve for me, but I still kind of like would look at it on a positive outlook. Even like the days I was just like really down bad, like did not want to go back, like, you know, crying in the bathroom, the next day I still like showed up and I put on a good face, and I just knew that like obviously I'm going through this for this learning experience because there's just something on the other side waiting for me that's like gonna be amazing, or like what I'm gonna get out of this is amazing kind of thing. So that was a learning curve. Block 5, the one that everyone wanted to hear about, CDC. Oh my god, oh my god. I absolutely loved that rotation. And I guess I can talk about this now since like I'm not pursuing it, but I did actually get a job offer. So I guess I can publicly talk about it now since like I'm not taking it. At the time when I got it, I felt like I could tell no one. I told like a few people, like obviously my family, my boyfriend and their family, and then my rotation that was like starting literally like 2 days after I finished that rotation, I told them because everyone wanted to know, and they're like, what's going on? And plus it was like the start of residency season, so I told like 4 people on that rotation because I was freaking out. Like, y'all, I was having an existential crisis. I put it on Twitter, everything. I was like, I'm having an existential crisis. But I had the opportunity to talk with like a lot of people that I met there, and a lot of people who are outside of there, and just kind of like get a lot of feedback, not necessarily opinions, but feedback on what I see myself doing, what I like and what I don't like. And then just kind of like from all of that, it was just best that I don't go directly into the CDC, because what I want to ultimately do at the CDC, I need clinical experience, and not just rotations. I need clinical experience from practicing as a clinical pharmacist for 10 to 15 years kind of thing. Granted, there are plenty of people who did not do that at the CDC and are like in these positions. However, it did take a long time, or they did other training, or they did other positions they did not necessarily want to do first, and then they got to where they wanted. So for me, I just knew that like that wasn't what I want to do, you know? But rotation wise, oh my god, I absolutely loved my preceptors. I was done by like 2 o'clock, 2:15 every single day. I just had a great time. My specific division was kind of just like managing a very small formulary of 12 agents. So every day we started with like sending out these agents, getting packages back in from these places that we disperse them to, getting like regulatory documents and things like that. So obviously I can't go like into depth on what I did, but that's the gist of it. And I did get a job offer, and I was ready to take it immediately. Like I was like, yes, I want to be here. But I just had to like kind of think about like where I want to be, what that looks like, and how I want to get there kind of thing. And just from all those conversations, I felt that residency was the best option for me, as well as the job offer wasn't like I could sign the paperwork right now. It was like in May, when it becomes available, would you like it? And the thing is, with the government, things move really slow, and they had actually been trying to fill this position for a little bit, like on and off, and they hadn't filled it in the last 7 months. So it's one of those things where it's like, what happens if I say yes right now, and then literally the next month the government's like, oh sure, actually we'll give you this person for it, and it gets filled, then I no longer have it in May. So I just really wanted to make sure I had a backup plan just in case as well if I were to take it, but ultimately I did not. And now we are at block 6, what I just finished literally 4 days ago, y'all. I did an internal medicine rotation. I highly recommend everyone do an internal medicine. Like, honestly, I feel like it's probably required at some schools, 100%. I know it's definitely required for a lot of residencies, because it's like, what is a better place to take care of like 7 disease states in one person, you know, or like see 25 different disease states in 2 days? Internal med. So I loved it. For my school, internal med is not required. What is required is an acute adult general medicine, and that can be like ICU, CBICU, neuro ICU, or of course an internal med service, which is what I did. Loved it. However, this was probably my shortest rotation. Despite it actually being 5 weeks, I probably was there for a total of 17 days because of Thanksgiving. Mid-year was 4 days that I was away, but then I actually got sick coming back from mid-year, so then I had 2 days off, and then I never fully recovered. So I was improving and I was able to go back because I was negative, but then I fell sick again and missed another 2 days. So yeah, we'll just leave that there. But I really enjoyed it because it was another teaching team, and like I mentioned, I really enjoy teaching teams. And this time actually I had med students in my teaching team. On my ID consults teaching team, I did not have med students. So this was really fun because, like, you know, we're both like in our 20s chatting about like school and stuff like that, and I'm teaching them, they're teaching me. I'm being included in conversations and included in, like, you know, like questions and like lectures, and I really enjoyed that a lot. So that definitely solidified my love for, like, if I'm going to be on an inpatient team, I want to be on a teaching team. On this team, we were also very pro pharmacy. My ID consults team definitely was pro pharmacy, like we were involved, but this was like so pro pharmacy that like my attending was like it was, they were just amazing. Like, they all like personally came and grabbed us, and you know, they didn't just like epic chat you and go like, can you do this for me? Like, they would come find you and be like, hey, like, I really appreciate your help, can you do this? Like, they baked us cookies. Like, I was like, what? So love this. I love just like how I literally saw a new disease state like literally every single day that I was there, like a minimum of 2. And so it was a lot of like learning every day. So like if I worked with my patients from like 7:30 a.m. to 9 before I round it with my preceptor, there was a lot of time where I'm on up to date, like what the heck is warm autoimmune hepatitis, and what is thoracic endometriosis, and why does she have like endometrial tissue in her lungs, kind of things, you know? So I enjoyed it because I felt like it kept me on my feet. All right, so those are all my rotations so far. I'm currently on a 2-week break, which is my winter break. So then on January 2nd, I start my advanced institutional rotation, and this is kind of like your hospital leadership, main inpatient pharmacy kind of thing, staff pharmacist kind of thing. So this is going to be like, you know, working in the main inpatient pharmacy with the staff pharmacist, learning how to refill the carousels, how to approve orders and all that good stuff. So I am not looking forward to it, I'm not even gonna lie. I know it's gonna be a good rotation no matter what. Like, I always say that I'm not looking forward to rotation, I have a great time. However, this is also gonna be a rotation where like she's already sent me my schedule, and I've got like quite a few projects in leadership things, and I don't think leadership is my strong suit in terms of like hospital leadership kind of thing. I definitely serve as a leader in like my organization that I work in. So this is on like a much larger level. So I'm really interested in seeing how that translates on like, or like if I like it or I don't. but it's also gonna be the time during that rotation where there's a residency interview. So I'm really scared of like what happened this rotation where I'm only there for literally like 2 weeks, that happening again, so we'll see. And then right after that, I have a 1 week break, and then I moved to Arizona for 5 weeks. I'm doing an Indian Health Service rotation at Parker, Arizona. So I'm very, very excited. And I like genuinely cannot wait to bring you guys along for that one. It's an AMK rotation again. So I do have 2 specific AMK rotations, but by the time I graduate, I'll have had 3, because technically my oncology rotation, we were in the outpatient setting 90% of the time, and that was kind of considered AMK. So I will have had 3 AMK rotations, so I think. Okay, so I know I said that I was gonna kind of like do like a residency update, but some of the questions I have kind of relate to like residency and stuff. So I feel like I can answer them while answering these questions, right? So first up, let's do the APPE's ones first. So the first APPE one is gonna be, what helped me prepare best for APPE's? I'm gonna be honest, I did not really prepare for APPE's. If we're talking like clinically prepare, like practice working up patients or like studying, I really didn't do any of that unless the preceptor sent me over a PowerPoint or guidelines they wanted me to read, which did happen for 3. So the first one was oncology. She sent me over like 3 PowerPoints to read. So like I read those, took some notes, and then the other learning that I did for the APPE was on the job. You know, we would come across something and she'd be like, oh, read this. And so I'd read that on the rotation. Second one would be my ID rotation. He did send me a few things just to go over, and that was kind of my preparation. Other than that, my hepatology rotation. Outside of that, I actually will ask the preceptor what are some things you want me to look over / prepare for this rotation. And if they don't give me anything, because they're like, there's not really anything to prepare for, like we will do all that stuff once you get here, or we will do that stuff along the way, then I don't, because I don't know what to prepare for. You know, does that make sense? So things that people actually sent me from their email when you do your like introductory email about like, hi, I'm your rotating student. What time do you want me to start? What day do you want me to be there? What are my hours? Where should I park? Are there anything you would like for me to prepare for? That's the only preparation I did. Now, if we're talking outside of clinical preparation, of course, like meal prepping or like, you know, knowing what you're gonna have for lunches or dinners throughout the week ahead of time helps a lot, because you don't know how long you're gonna be at rotation sites all the time. So just making sure like I had enough clean business casual clothes. I was only able to wear scrubs on 2 of my rotations out of 6 so far. So just making sure that like, you know, I had some appropriate clothing for rotation, making sure my white coat's always clean. Outside of that, there wasn't really, I really did not do much preparation, like some true preparation, not even gonna lie. All right, so might be a silly question, but have you had to do weekends for any of your APPE's? So I can only speak for myself. I have not personally. It was gonna be an option for the most recent rotation I had if I missed more than 5 days for mid-year. And honestly, I would have came in because that's my requirement, you know? I personally would not have put up a fight having to go on the weekend for that one because it was internal med and I knew I was missing a few days anyway. However, I do know some people have had to go in for weekends for like community rotations, which is a prime reason why I chose something like student health or like specialty pharmacy, because they're not open on the weekends. So I did not have to do any weekends during my community rotation because they were not open on the weekends. So my answer for that is no. But I do know people who have had to go in. So that's just something to keep in mind when you are ranking your APPE's, but also if these are valuable learning experiences outside of a community rotation, I probably would have came in. Do I think working part-time is feasible during rotations? I can only speak for myself. It has not been feasible for me. I've only been able to work part-time, and when I say part-time, I mean like a total of 6 hours during 1.5 rotations. So keep in mind, I do not work for like a traditional retail pharmacy, which may be open from like 8 to 8. My pharmacy is in a specialty clinic, so we are open from 9 to 5 on Monday, 9 to 8 on Tuesday, 9 to 8 on Wednesday, 9 to 5 Thursday, 9 to 5 Friday, 9 to 1 Saturday, and we are not open on Sundays. So there is not much room for Rudy to work, because if I finish rotation at 5 on Monday, Thursday, Friday, my clinic's not open. If I finish rotation at 6:30 on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, it makes no sense for me to go to work, because it'll take me 30 minutes to get there from my clinic site, because you know I gotta get to my car and all that stuff and then drive, and it's work time traffic. It makes no sense. I'll get there at 7, work for 1 hour. So there's only been like 1.5 rotations where I've been able to go in from like 4 to 8 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays to cover for like 4 hours, which was like a really nice boost to my bank account, because keep in mind, we're working for free. But I would not say that I actually have been able to work part-time. It's not been feasible for me, and I know plenty of other students who it hasn't been feasible for them at all either. But I do also know of people who have worked part-time through rotations, and I really think that that's like a conversation, if you're interested in doing that, you should have with people that you know who have done that and how they balanced it, and if they would recommend it again. Because when we were planning our rotations, our advisor was like, I don't recommend it. It has been a detriment to some people's, you know, performance and rotations, but also some people have like completely drived and like barely had 3 hours of sleep because you're working so much. So I definitely think it's a conversation that you need to have like with you and people you know who have done it and people you know who have not done it, and kind of just compare what you can do. But for me, I know some people do have like requirements for return hours with how many hours they have to work with their jobs. I did not have that, so like they knew that 4th year was going to be kind of like a wonky time for me. So when I can come in, I do, and they're fine with that. And when I can't come in, they're fine with that and they support me. How do I prepare for a first day on a new rotation? So that kind of goes back to like the preparation for APPEs that I talked about earlier. So before the first day, you're supposed to have already reached out to your preceptor and gotten like, what are my hours? What do I wear? What color do I wear? Where do I park? Anything you want me to go over. So by that first day, for how I prepare is I make sure that like I have like done some type of like meal prep / picked out some dinners, lunches that I can easily take with me, so that just in case this is like a very time intensive rotation, I'm covered. I'm not worried about where to eat, how to eat, right? And that's a must for me, because I get hangry and you don't want to deal with me. 2, you want to make sure that like you have prepared whatever they ask you to prepare. Like if you ask them what are some things you want me to read over and prepare for, don't be mad when that first day come around and they're like, all right, so let's talk about ALL, the reading I sent you, and you're like, don't be mad about that, because you asked for it and they want to do it. I've always came ready like on all of my rotations, and so that's just something I highly recommend. 2 or 3, sleep. Please sleep, get some rest, because like typically, or at least for my school, we typically end rotations on that Thursday, and then you start your next rotation on a Monday. So Friday we have like end of rotation exams, which is like for RX prep. So, you know, enjoy yourself. Take some time to like catch up on laundry, catch up on sleep on that Saturday and Sunday before that rotation, because you deserve it. You're working your butt off. I typically would take this time also to try to like update my CV very fast with like bullet points on what I completed on that rotation, update like my like running list of like any interventions I've done, turn in any assignments I needed for that past rotation. You want to make sure you're done with like everything before you start a rotation, so that you can actually rest and recharge and get stuff done around your house. Like I personally like, I feel like just like over these last few months, like the whole mentality of like we have to like hustle hard and like not sleep and all this stuff, just like I've lost that. I personally am like so pro self-care, and like I'm still working my butt off, I'm still giving my all, but like those days before starting a new rotation, when I tell you, I do my best to just rest and literally sit on my couch and binge something. If I have a week off before a new rotation, I try to work as much as I can, not like overdo it, but like maybe 3 days, and just make as much money as I can, because keep in mind, we're not getting paid. Oh, and update your calendar. So they send you some specific dates before you start this rotation, add them all into your Google Calendar or your Outlook calendar. How do I balance school, work, social life through APPEs? I mean, if you guys are following me on Instagram right now, you know that I post here and there now. Obviously I've been very active on my Instagram over the last 4 years because I started it as like a way to document my experience through pharmacy school, and over APPE year it's just gotten like, I've been less and less active in terms of in-feed posts. I do stories pretty often, but like keep in mind, my #1 priority is becoming a pharmacist, right? So in my head, like balancing my social media life is not my priority. I love posting my like outfit pics and like talking about what I've done for the day, but I have never considered it a priority for me when I started APPE's. And what helps me with that is I actually turned off my notifications for any social media, and that has been tremendous because obviously like during school I would get like notifications like in a class about like someone commented on my reel, and I'd comment back, and then I'd like lost my focus for 10 minutes in class, right? I completely turn all that off for APPE's because your priority is being at that hospital or being at that clinic or being in that pharmacy, and that's that. And so with that, obviously I've been less consistent on Instagram. So no, I may not have grown as much as I wanted to on Insta or YouTube, but that's not my priority. And then when it comes to like work slash school slash like life balance, I live with my partner. So that's very nice in terms of like always coming home to him, being able to go to dinner together on the weekends, on Fridays. It's nice having like someone to talk to at the end of the day, ask about how my day went, and like we kind of like, you know, debrief. I like debriefing when I come home. I call my family pretty often. We do live in the same state. We're just like an hour away. So I just, you know, I do a lot of FaceTime, a lot of phone calls just to like debrief at the end of the day. For me, that balance is specifically like when you're leaving rotations. When I leave rotations, I try my best not to listen to like pharmacy podcasts. I try my best not to just talk about anything related to rotation wise, unless I'm like on my phone, I'm talking to my mom about my day. But I do my best just to kind of like give myself that, like my commutes range from like 30 minutes to an hour, and I just try my best to like give myself a brain break during that time, listen to music, listen to lifestyle podcasts, listen to just like other genres of stuff. And then when I get home, I try my best to also give myself like another hour of just like cooking while watching like a lifestyle kind of like YouTube video or some random gadget I want to get on YouTube, you know, kind of thing. Like just not doing anything pharmacy related for a minimum of 2 hours, and then I can get on my computer after dinner and all that stuff. So that's kind of where all of that comes into play. I try to like do the like time constraints on my social media apps. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. But outside of that, I just know what my priorities are, and that's kind of where that balance goes. So from a financial point of view, how are APPE's? APPE's are expensive. They are so expensive. One, at some sites you have to pay to park. So I was at a specific site 3 times, and each time I had to pay $71 to park there for 5 weeks. I had to pay another $10 at another site to park for an entire 5 weeks, which is not bad. My next place is free to park. I almost had to pay $110 at another site to park for 5 weeks, but we ended up kind of like finding a loophole. You still have to pay groceries. You still have to get groceries for the week, or unless you want to eat at these hospitals every day, which is a lot of money. You still have to get gas. You still have to pay for any kind of like testing they need for the site. So if you need to get another background check, if you need to get another drug test, if you need to get updated TB blood work, which I have recently had to do, or if you're going on like a government rotation, I actually had to pay for fingerprint cards, and that was $156. So it gets expensive. And outside of that, we have a mortgage. I do have a car. You have other things that you have to pay for, like your cell phone bill, internet. You know, there's just like a lot of things that adds up that you don't think about when you're going on APPE's and you're not making money. So like, I won't give specific numbers, but like, I'm broke. Basically, it's Christmas time, and luckily my family and my partner are all very supportive, and they understand my situation. So like, I've already told everyone, you're not getting Christmas presents until like January or February, because obviously I'm working these next 2 weeks. So like, I'm gonna be making my Christmas money over the next 2 weeks, and then I can like get people things in January. So like, I have like 2 presents under my tree for people, and everyone else is like, we know already, like you're actually not required to get us anything. Luckily 3 of my family members out of my 4 have birthdays in January and February, so that helps a lot because I can literally give them Christmas presents then. So it's expensive. Save as much as you can beforehand. I'm not saying save up $30,000, but having some kind of reserve is nice because things do pop up. In the middle of one of my rotations, I had to pay $700 because my cat got sick and I needed x-rays and cytology and special meds. Things happen. I had a nail in my tire. That was $200. Like, so there's just so many things that like you just don't think about, and things that pop up, unfortunately. And if you hear someone meowing, it's Yami in the bedroom. And there's just so much. It's very expensive, I won't even lie. And that does not even account for things like mid-year, which costed basically a minimum of $1,000 if you went, between like your registration, your flight, if you're getting a poster, your blazers, business cards, if you had to order business cards. I did not. I ordered mine P1 year, but just like expensive, very expensive. So if you're going to any conferences throughout the year, that's on you depending on your school. So for my school, they do not really reimburse us like that. For my $1,100 I paid for mid-year, I'm getting back $145. Let that sink in. However, on the other hand, I know friends who I met at mid-year who go to a school in Alabama, and they're getting reimbursed. Plus I think she said she got a stipend to spend here for like, to spend in Vegas for like food and transportation. So like you really gotta finesse it. I applied for scholarships for mid-year. I did not get them. But yeah, I like definitely applied for like travel stipends and stuff like that. And I went to 2 conferences this year. Actually, I went to 3 conferences. One just happened to be in Atlanta, so I did not have to spend that much money. But 2 were out of state. So I went to Las Vegas and I went to California. Okay, so those are all the APPE ones. Residency ones, oh my God. Okay, so this one's about like community-based residencies. If I know anyone who's considering it. Yeah, I know plenty of people actually, because community-based is also basically AmCare in disguise, is what I've been told when I talk to some of those programs. I personally am applying to 2 quote-unquote community-based residencies, because those specific 2 ones are actually kind of, they're embedded in HIV clinics, so just like where I want to be in the future. So I actually am applying to 2 community-based residency programs actually. And like I mentioned, community-based is like AmCare in disguise, because you're still embedded in a clinic, or you're embedded in like a health system's outpatient clinics. So that's what I really love. And so yeah, I do know plenty of people who are considering them. If you're interested, I'm sure we can talk about it sometime, probably after match season, to see if that's the route I went or not. But there's a lot of people who do them, and I personally like really enjoy talking to those programs, so I love it. I guess where we're on the topic of residency, I'm applying to residency. I'm applying to a mix of AmCare / community-based, and then traditional residencies that have a lot of AmCare aspects. I specifically wanted somewhere that gives me HIV experience. So my choices of options are very tailored, and they're all over the country. So I have no idea where I'm living next year, honestly, at this point. But yeah, it's basically where I see myself at is possibly doing like an AmCare ID HIV job and teaching. That's kind of like where I see myself like right now as of December 20th, 2022, is doing some type of like HIV ID clinic within like probably like a large health system where I can also do teaching. And yeah, that's where I see myself. Yeah, it's really exciting. I'm currently like in the peak of residency application season right now, because I literally have an application due in 3 days. Yeah, I have an application due in 3 days. My first one's due in 3 days. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. But yeah, I'm applying, and I will do like a whole residency video once all this is finished. I just don't want to do it beforehand and like speak on things I'm not completely sure about. Yeah, I'm really superstitious about that, but I am applying, and I'm basically looking for a mix of things, honestly. So I really can't give you guys a specific like what where I'm going kind of thing, you know? So there are some like prep questions with that though, specifically letters of intent. Y'all are asking me for tips for letters of intent like I'm a pro, because I am not. My pro tips for letters of intent is get as many eyes on that thing as possible. I have probably had, let's see, I've done the ACCP letter of intent service 4 times because it allows you to do, it allows you to get your original revision from your reviewer. You can submit it back to them and they can give you updated feedback. And then you can also submit it to a new reviewer. And then you can also just submit a new one. So I've done that like 4 times because I really wanted to get my use out of them. And then once I got a great outline of a letter of intent, I basically copied that and highlighted everything that is specific to a program and I duplicated it. So this program is for blah, 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 right? And I like this about your program. I talked to these people, this is this, but those last 3 paragraphs are all the same for all of my programs because it talks about my interests, my experience, and why I'm a good fit. And that's not going to change because I'm very interested in very specific things and all these programs have that specific thing. So that was very, very good for me. So like basically my tip is have a master LOI and just tailor it to every program. That saves you a lot of time because I've been able to write LOIs now in 10 minutes because I'm just changing up things, adding who I talk to, yeah, so that's really nice. And then of course get as many eyes on it as possible. I was told like don't use a template, but like my original one is like a mix of a template with my pizzazz on it. And I'm not saying like I copied the template and like just changed a few words, but like I looked at a template and I kind of was like, okay, so I see how they're transitioning this and I use kind of like that transition. I didn't necessarily go, oh, copy paste, all that stuff. So get as many eyes on it, make sure it's true to you, have a master one, rinse, repeat, honestly. Then how am I doing with all of this craziness? Oh my God. I am very stressed right now. Like I mentioned, this is like the peak of interview season, or peak of application season. So I'm just like really freaking out because I feel like everything is happening like right now. Applications are very expensive. So like, I'm kind of like trying to like budget, how am I gonna pay for these 2 applications first and then all the other money that comes with these applications, like making sure I've got all my letters of recommendation, making sure my letters of intent are uploaded and final and in PDF form and named correctly. So it's just a lot of like stress, but I'm also very excited because like I might be in this state next year, or here next year, and I'm just like very excited to see where this journey leads me. So I'll say like right now I am stressed, but I'm really excited, and I'm just really thankful and grateful to have these opportunities to apply and to, you know, go on rotations and stuff. So because I know like a lot of things happen through P4 year, and so like where we end up, you know, it can, you know, where we think we end up P4 year is not always what we do. And so I'm just really happy and just like excited, and I'm learning to like try to be not as hard on myself during this time and like stop trying to like, you know, allow the imposter syndrome to take over. But honestly, I'm really excited, I can't lie. Okay, so I think those are all the questions, and I think that's everything that I wanted to chat about / life update about. If there are any other specific questions, please let me know in the comments below. And as I always say, I'm just really thankful for you guys for being on this journey with me. I can't believe I'm filming an APPE update right now when I started this channel right before P1 year. Like, this is wild. Hopefully next step will be just some more clinical rotation videos, and then a residency video maybe, and then maybe a match video. I don't know, we'll see. But I love you guys. I thank you guys for sticking around with me, and I will see you guys next time.